gentlemen, welcome to another edition of AFI's Cover 7 podcast. We are very excited to talk about the Stuttgart Surge today, one of the most exciting teams heading into the 2023 season. A lot of new faces in Stuttgart after winless 2023. Let's start off with Jordan Newman, the head coach, formerly of the Schwäbisch Hall Unicorns, who won 3 German Bowl titles there, bringing with him a lot of talent from the Unicorns. And I'm excited to see what culture he brings, what culture change he'll bring to Stuttgart.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, they're 2 years in it. Well, I think first we should acknowledge that we're both wearing Lobos t-shirts. It looks ridiculous. We know that, but we thought, why not? Anyway, I think culture change is necessary in Stuttgart. The last 2 years have been horrific for the team, right? I mean, 2 wins in the first season, no wins last year. Yeah, I guess they thought things would change last year and haven't, so they just need to overhaul the entire team, change up the roster, change up the coaching staff, change up the attitude towards football, I guess, because they had a losing culture. And so I guess that's what they want to change. And I think they have done a exemplary job in the off-season at trying to achieve that.
Yeah, I agree. Lobos actually the alma mater of Chicago Bears great Brian Urlacher and former ELF player Lamar Jordan.
There you go.
How about that? Maybe we'll see him back in the league. Who knows? It was time for an overhaul in Stuttgart. Winless season, a very poor season prior. I think Newman was probably the best free agent, quote unquote, coach on the market, and they grabbed him.
100%. Mr. Germany, right? I mean, he was the guy before ELF came along. GFL was the big dog, and Jordan Newman was the top of the food chain, right? He was the head coach for Unicorns. Took them to how many championships did they win?
I want to say 3.
About 3 championships under Jordan. He's done a great job, and obviously he was one of the initial voices that was anti-ELF, right? And he was like, hey, let's do more stuff for the GFL. But whatever happened last year, he was not content with, and now he's basically jumped ship and changed allegiances, and now come to the ELF and brought pretty much not the entire roster with him, but what looks like a lot of it, and bringing his QB with him was Riley Hennessy. First came to Europe and played for Mark Mattioli, the Paris coach for Parma Panthers. Led them to a championship. Didn't have an amazing season, but he played well. And then the second team he went to last year was the Unicorns, obviously. Again, it wasn't just under 2,100 yards, 27 touchdowns. Ranked about 8th in the league in the GFL. So it wasn't amazing by any standards, but he probably wasn't asked to do too much either, right? When you're winning games 50-60 nil, you're not really required. Exactly, you're not required to do too much, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Hennessy does. I think we'll see sort of like the Parma Panthers, Riley Hennessy, where they're going to need him now instead of handing the ball off and throwing wide receiver screens when you're already up 35-0 against the Munich Cowboys. It's going to be a little bit different this year for the Surge, or kind of Unicorns 2.0. The other American import they're bringing in on offense is Bryce Nunnally, who did play briefly for the Unicorns last season, came in late, former standout at the Division I FCS level for University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. Was actually an XFL camp invite and just missed out on the XFL this year. So I'm sure he's coming in shape and ready to tear it up.
100%. Mitch Fedek as well. He's another one they're bringing across from Unicorns. He was there for a while. Previously played in the CFL or CFL camp, I believe. He's done a lot for that team over the last few years. He's been a staple of that team. He's a leader, and I'm sure that's what Jordan wants to bring in as well. He wants to bring in leaders, so he'll do that as well as provide a excellent set of eyes and ears in the back end of the defense. And the second defensive import is Kalen Curse-Thomas, who I know you've researched about.
Yeah, interesting linebacker here, coming out of the Pac-12, Arizona State standout. Spent some time with the Tennessee Titans in camp. So we're getting like another guy this is another like diamond in the rough that Newman finds. He does this year after year. He finds the guys with the dual citizenship back in the day in the GFL, and he finds top American imports. So I have no doubt that Nunnally and Curse Thomas will do a fantastic job, leading and as well as on-field production.
100%. Someone I'm most excited about, though, one of my favorite players in Europe is Goran Zec, Serbian defensive back, and he is just an absolute baller, right? I mean, last year for the Rostov Panthers, 88 tackles, 11.5 tackles for a loss, 3 forced fumbles, 6 interceptions, 8 pass breakups, and 3.5 sacks. He was the soul of that defense, right? And he was one of the best players in Elf last year, full stop. I think he was recognized slightly, but I also think he was unbelievably underrated. And he's an absolute baller. And for Stuttgart Surge to secure a European of that caliber to play along, people like Mitch Fedek and the other Stuttgart guys they're bringing in, I think, it's just amazing. He's such a great player. And he's one of the guys I think is going to make a real impact for that defense.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I believe he played for the Unicorns at some point in the past. So Newman going into his Rolodex and picking up an absolute stud. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, no, that was one of the first teams he played for when he left Serbia. So obviously Jordan's recognised the talent there, kept the connection, and then basically called him back up and said, "Hey, come play for me. We're going to win a championship."
Yeah, and that leads us right into another Euro import that Newman knows well is wide receiver Yannick Meyer. Really interesting young receiver from Austria. He's played for Vienna. He's played for the Unicorns. And last year, he kind of flew under the radar for the Raiders. I think he had some injuries and missed some time. This is a legit deep threat wide receiver who can make a difference and will be someone that Hennessy will definitely be looking for on third and long. And he pairs well with Luis Geyer, who comes from played for the Surge in 2021, then went to Cologne last year, now goes back to the Surge with hopefully looking to get some more wins under his belt. 2 rough seasons there for Lewis. Physical receiver, 6'2", over 200 pounds, great red zone threat. Maybe there's an Alan Lazard comp there for ELF fans. I'm excited to see how he does in this new offense.
100%. And then a few more names just about there. Lewis Buck, the linebacker, and Alessandro Vigandi as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Other Unicorns guys making the short drive up to Stuttgart now from Schwäbisch Hall. They're bringing a lot of guys with him. You see Newman bringing probably culture changers to Stuttgart. How do you think these Unicorns, these new faces, are going to mix with the Surge of the past?
Right, that's the excellent point. I mean, you've got to think, everyone knows the Unicorns have been the team in Europe for a very long time, and I'm sure the players know that as well. And I'm sure their kind of swagger, their demeanor, everything about them representative of that. And so when they come to Stuttgart, where Stuttgart have been losing a bunch of games, right, and they go to training, I'm sure there might actually initially be a bit of a clash between the old and the new guard. I'm sure Jordan has navigated things like that before, and I'm sure he can do it again. But I do think that's something that will be apparent in the initial, probably right now, as we're speaking. Those things are probably happening right now in practice. I'm sure if anyone can kind of get them through that, it'll be Jordan and be ready for the start of the season. Yeah,
absolutely. And he's bringing a lot of basically his coaching staff from Schwäbisch Hall to Stuttgart. So I think, it'll be either get on the ship or get out of the way as far as Newman's concerned.
Yeah. And just another interesting point about that. I mean, you spoke about he's bringing his coaching staff, and we obviously mentioned a bunch of players, and there's so many players that we haven't mentioned that come from Stuttgart as well, from Schwäbisch Hall as well. And it kind of begs the question, why did Schwäbisch Hall not join Elf, right? Why have Stuttgart joined Elf instead? And is that part of the reason that Jordan left the Unicorns, right? Was it kind of like we've written about the sprint, that's for do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, hey look, I wanted to be an Elf, I wanted to be in a, do you know what I mean? You have to recognize what the best platform to play football is, and Elf has shown itself to be the best platform, and for whatever reason Unicorns are like, now we're going to send GFL.
Yeah, one of our writers at AFI, JC Abbott, does a great article on this where Newman talks about sort of his struggles with the lack of progress happening in the German Football League, and why he's making the change for the trending new kid on the block with the ELF, which has put together now 2 very successful and very popular seasons so far. Maybe the Unicorns will join someday. We hope, but just because they're just such a good brand for American football in Germany. But yeah, I'm sure all these guys will be rooting on the Unicorns as they look to defend their German Football League title. With that being said, switching back to the Surge, we're getting sidetracked a bit here. With that being said, let's take a look at the Surge's 2023 season. They play in a tough Central Conference with a lot of expansion teams, but also the Raiders to roll. I believe they have some tough out-of-conference games as well that we'll take a look at. Let's take a look at Week 1, Daniel. Who they got?
So Week 1, Stuttgart will be traveling to Paris to play the Musketeers. And an interesting thing about Riley Hennessy was that Riley Hennessy was heavily recruited by his former coach, Mark Mattioli, in Paris to play for them. Obviously, they ended up with Zach Edwards and Surge ended up with Hennessy. I'm sure that both sides are happy, but that's definitely going to be something there. So it should be a good game. But I believe that Stuttgart will go in there and get the win. Their roster is just so deep. I think they're going to be very well prepared. And I think Paris have a shaky start due to the volatility of the way that any team's going to enter the Elf, right?
Expansion franchise, yeah, absolutely. Next week, they host the Milano Seamen. I got Surge winning this one as well. I think the Seamen are going to be a good team to watch, but they're making a clear jump from Italian football to the ELF, and I think the Surge are going to be a really deep squad.
Next, Swarco Raiders Tyrol, traveling to Stuttgart. Stuttgart take this. I think the Raiders have had a okay off-season. I don't know how effective their passing game is going to be. I think they're going to turn the ball over a lot. I think Stuttgart will take advantage of that, especially Goranzec. And I think Stuttgart get this win quite comfortably.
Yeah, I think they make it 4 in a row here. And the next week, going to Munich. Munich Ravens are a bit of a question mark as well as being an expansion team. I think it's hard to really get the team chemistry and build a squad the way you want, and the Surge are loaded. So they go to Munich and get a W.
Next, Paris comes to Stuttgart. Even though it's home field advantage, I do think that Paris might get this win. I think they've built some momentum in the first 5 weeks of the season. They've started to gel a bit more as a unit. Carl Sweet and Zach Edwards can start to take advantage of the connection they had last year. And I think they get one over in a close game on Stuttgart. Yeah,
I think this series is going to be split. I don't know who's going to win, the home games or the away games, but this Paris versus Stuttgart series is going to be definitely primetime ELF television. Next, they travel to Zurich to play the Helvetic Guards. Surge roll in that one. I'm not feeling the Guards. Who you got next, Daniel?
Next, I feel the same way about Barcelona. Barcelona at Stuttgart. I think Stuttgart, just roll over the Dragons. I think the Dragons have lost too many key pieces, and the recruiting hasn't probably been where they want it to be. Yeah,
I think. I agree there. We'll dive more into the Dragon situation in our upcoming episodes. Next week, Surge at Seamen in Milano. Maybe a trap game. I think this will be a close game. I think Milano will have a big advantage at home, playing in their beautiful stadium there.
At 7 p.m.
At 7 p.m., yeah. I'm going to give it to Surge, but I think this one will be a very close game.
Next, Munich at Stuttgart. Similarly, I think that they win against Munich again. I'm not sold on Munich. I know you are a bit more. But I'm not sold on Munich, and I think that Stuttgart, steamrolled them.
Yeah, next week, traveling to Spain. Surge roll in that one, I think, in the late bit of the season. Maybe there's some trap moments here coming up, especially maybe the guys want to have a good time in Barcelona. Who knows, right? But, I think it's a really deep Surge team heading to the Dragons' den.
Yeah, next we have Stuttgart coming to Austria, take on the Raiders Tyrol. Again, Raiders, too many turnovers, I think, this upcoming season. I don't know if they've got the firepower to basically get anything over on Stuttgart. That secondary is going to be super deep. As obviously, we'll see how Thomas plays, the import linebacker. But if he plays well, then I think that defense is probably one of the best in the league. And I think they steamroll Tyrol.
Yeah, I think they finished the season off with a win, hosting the Guards. So that puts them at 11-1. I think it's safe to say they're the clear favorite in the Central Division.
Yeah, I think one of the favourites in the league, right? I think there are some great teams, like obviously Hamburg, Vienna, obviously great teams, and I think Rhein-Fire, those are the teams. But I mean, Stuttgart, I don't think is going to see those guys until to the playoffs, and I think don't know if that's going to help them or hinder them, to be honest, because they don't have any real competition outside of Paris until the playoffs, and it could be a bit of a surprise.
That should give them the top position after winning the Central Conference and a home game for Surge fans in the postseason. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Reminder to please like and subscribe and stay tuned for our next episode of State of the Franchise.